So y'all, that reconciliation was about as real as a $4 bill. Mm-mm. And Glendale was ready to beat the brakes off Letitia's manager, child. The brakes. Was that crash out justified? And cousin Selena, come here, girl. Come here. Yep, the skibbity paps are for you. Come here, girl. Cause you in danger, girl. You in danger. Okay, get in here, y'all. Let's talk about it. Okay, but first, listen. Peace, peace, cousins. It's your cousin Reebell, aka The Voice, and I have an opinion about everything. Okay, everything. hmm And this is Reebell Radio presents the reality recap. Yep, that's right. The reality recap is your weekly dose of reality TV, pop culture, entertainment news, advice, and hot topics. Okay. And so for tonight's reality recap, I'm on the Belle Collective season 7, episode 5, and we'll get into that in just a sec. But in the meantime, smash the like button and subscribe with the bell so you don't miss none of my commentary on this and other reality shows and situations. All right. All right. So bust it. Okay, y'all. So they left off. They left off with the girls. At Carrie's therapy. Is that what it is? Her therapy, her therapy session. And Leticia and Latrice, they were going off. They were going off, at each other. Getting at each other again. But then, the counselor, was kind of trying to make them see that, they supposed to be cool and they, why they treating each other like that. And they both start crying and they both, admit that they miss each other because they used to be really close and everything. So the therapist suggests that they sit down together and they both agree. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the recap. We're going to get to that. So then Matt, Carrie, and her wig sit down. Sit down at her restaurant, and she mentions her restaurant, Brick and Spoon, that's fledgling, right? And I'm like, girl, if you don't go ahead and sell that damn place, I'm just tired of her crying. No, I get it. Listen, I get it, but I'm just tired of her crying about it. And I'm just like, if it's not making money, if you're not making money there, right, and it's cutting into y'all finances, right, and that's becoming a problem, then there's only two solutions. It's either you strategize and rebrand to create awareness and to turn the deficit around, or you bite the bullet and you sell that shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sheesh, that's all you got. I mean, I get her attachment and her fear of, I think it's really just a fear of failure while she's like, not wanting to move on selling when obviously, she needs to sell. And I think that's the advice that everybody is giving her. But girl, I get it, but girl, you got to know when to call the audible, and if necessary, let stuff go before that thing drags her and Matt down. And financially, you got to let that stuff go, child. So in the middle of their, discussing the restaurant and what she should do about it, Matt tells Carrie that, he's decided to jump ship from his job and start his own company. Interesting. Um, interesting. Ciao. Matt's been in, y'all been watching the show. He's a pro baseball player, right? So he has 20 years of as a player, then he was a scout, and then now he's an agent, and now he wants to take the risk and quit his job and walk into his purpose, to create a legacy for his family. And you know what? I get it. I get it. I think he's trying to be like an independent scout because he didn't really say like what the plan was. He just said, I want to just start my excuse me, start my own thing. And I'm thinking he wants to be an independent scout. And Carrie, she's not really happy about it because, especially considering the timing, but she wants to believe in him, and she wants to be a supportive wife, as I believe she should, but she's scared, as I believe she should be. Girl. And I say that because, especially if they're depending on his income, to stay up or, to keep up their lifestyle. And I really don't know their financial situation. Maybe he feels it's a good time because, they're getting the checks from the show. Assuming it's not just a storyline, you know what I'm saying? But and hopefully that's the case. And he's not like jumping ship and jumping out cold turkey, as the provider and everything. Because that could cause a strain on the marriage if they experience financial issues due to him losing that income. That's a possibility, and that's something that they got to consider. So I hope they plan it out. I hope they think it out, and I hope that it works out because I'm really, I'm all down for him doing that and creating a legacy for his family and stepping out and doing his own thing. I'm all for it, and especially he's got all those years experience in the game and doing what he does, so I'm pretty sure he'll be successful. But I just hope that that they and Carrie should definitely support him as his wife for sure. But I'm just saying, I know that stuff like that, if you don't plan properly, and especially if his source of income was the main source of income, y'all got to plan that out. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's just extra at this point. But I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for them, and I hope that whole thing works out. So then Latrice goes to like an OBGYN place to check on her issues with her fibroids, right? And her husband is there to support, which I love. Shout out to the husband. Shout out to the husband. I love to see a husband going with his wife to the doctor. you know. So especially since she's been having like all those other issues. So it was nice to see that, him there with her. So the doctor said that she needs to have surgery on her fibroids to remove them, right? And the doctor said they believe that that's the reason why she had those blood clots. And the doctor said, the fibroids are common, and she's right because a lot of us Black women have dealt with or will deal with or know somebody who's dealt with, you know, the fibroid situation. And Latrice said, she's had them before, and she said, she just hates that she has to go through all of this again. And it's kind of devastating that she has to go through it again. And she said that she hopes this time the surgery works, right? And that they never come back. Now, here's a quick question. Excuse me, guys. Here's a quick question. Here's a quick lesson on fibroids and what she said about, I hope I hope the surgery works, right? Now, here's the thing. Surgery is not a cure for fibroids, okay? The surgery is a band-aid effect. So yes, the surgery will work because the surgery is going to actually remove the fibroids physically in that moment. It's going to, remove them. And I'm sorry if there's guys listening. I know y'all don't want to hear this stuff. my male cousin, just hang on. I'm talking to the ladies right now real quick. But like I said, the surgery is like a band-aid effect. Fibroids are caused by elevated estrogen levels and stress, and estrogen levels are raised, they are raised by like hormones in the meat and dairy that we consume. So if you don't cut back on those foods, or if you don't change the quality of the foods that you eat, or you don't eat a better quality of foods, like a better quality of meat, like organic meats or grass-fed beef or grass-fed meat, and that has like no hormones added, or if you don't cut the meat out altogether, then those hormones are going to come back. I'm sorry to say that. The surgery will get rid of them, but they will come back. They will come back. And also stress contributes to the growth of fibroids. So, if you get the if you get them taken out and you don't change your environment, there's all that stress can make them come right on back. And, they also say a lot of the hair products that we use as Black women, like the perms and all that stuff, there's chemicals and things in it that cause fibroids and the growth of fibroids. So, it's so many things. It's diet, it's environmental things, it's stress that cause them in the first place, right? The surgery is not the cure. The surgery is it just removes them in the moment. But once again, if you don't make a change in your lifestyle, meaning your environmental thing ain't thinging, your eating ain't all of that stuff. If you don't make a change in that, you can get 1,000 surgeries because those dumb shits will come back. They will. So I hope that Latrice does the research And I hope she definitely gets to understand that. I hope she has success with the surgery and everything, because it's not a minor, so it's very common, but it's depending on, we don't know. I wish they would have discussed more in detail. How many does she have, where are they located, how big are they, what's the size of that. It's so many things. They just left out so much detail with that. And I don't know if this is just for storyline or what, but they left out a lot of details that would have helped. But I hope that she does her research if this is real, and she gets to understand what really causes them and what can cause them to return despite surgery. So okay, sorry guys, y'all can unplug y'all ears now. And we're back. I had to talk to my female cousins just for a second there. So now on to the mess, child. Mm, 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 mm. So now Letitia shows up for her photo shoot, right? And her talk, for her new talk show. And while she's getting her hair and makeup done, Donald, who is her EP, her executive producer, he shows up. And right away, something I noticed is that right away, she immediately starts telling him all of her marital business to this, like all her marital business to this dude. And I'm like, Letitia, why? Like he ain't get the high out, and she going to, oh, and Glenn said, and let me tell you what Glenn did, and Glenn this, and then I'm like, girl, shut up. In the words of I got to get that clip. I have got to get that clip of Royce saying that, girl, shut up. But she starts revealing her issues with Glendale, and how Glendale feels that Matt, is trying to get intimate with her, and um, because of their business relationship, and I'm just like, he starts talking. I'm looking at him, and I'm just looking at this dude, and I'm like, who gonna tell her, boo? Who gonna tell her? Child, who gonna tell her? Child, let me shut up. Okay, let me get off Donald. But anyway, y'all know, if y'all listen, if you watch the show, if you saw it, you saw it. I know you saw. I know you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And so then Donald, who Letitia points out is married. She said he's married. She said Glenn is just, I mean, Donald said that, Glenn is just insecure about him, her leaving him. That was his comment to all the things that she was like discussing with him, which I felt like was like off limits. She has no business talking to this dude about her personal marriage situation. That's just how I am, child. You don't discuss your anyway. And then the hairstylist was right there, and everybody was there. I'm like, girl, shut up. Shut up. So so then her hair and makeup gets done, and she looks real cute. She gets out in front of the camera, and the photographer's taking her picture, and her whole team is there cheering her on. And she's taking the pics. The energy in the room is positive and cheerful, and everybody's happy. And then Glenn walks Glenn walks in unannounced and unexpectedly, right? Walks in. Coming in like Wendy Williams' husband. Kevin. Shout out to Wendy Williams, the GOAT, child. She is the GOAT. Let's not ever get it twisted. Wendy Williams is the GOAT. So Glenn comes walking in unexpectedly, and he said, since he wasn't invited to the photo shoot, he just waited, and just checked Letitia's location, and he just showed up, right? And I'm like, so far, I'm trying to give this dude the benefit of the doubt. So far, I'm just, as I'm watching the show, I'm like, okay, no major issue here. I mean, just a little bit, because he really wasn't invited by Leticia, and that means she really didn't want him there. And she said she didn't really want to involve him in her business. But honestly, that was not a mutual decision. He definitely did not agree to that arrangement back, last week when they were talking about it. But I'm like, okay, let me calm down, because at first I was like, what? But then I was like, okay, calm down. It's just a photo shoot. The details was already handled. So maybe he just want to show up and see his wife looking beautiful and cheer her on. That's my wishful thinking. Then here comes the bullshit. Glenn looks around the room. He sees Donald over there, and instantly there's a problem. He's got a problem with Donald being there. Specifically, he's like, um, and the funny thing is, there are other men in the room. There are other men in the room. First is her manager. He's a dude. He's there, right? I see other men in the room. And so it's not the presence of the male or the men in the room. It's Donald specifically that Glenn has a problem with, right? So he asked Donald, he asked Leticia, he's like, why he here? Why he here? Just like, why is he here? And and if that's why, if this is why she didn't invite Glenn to come there. He said, is he telling you how to pose? Is he working the camera? And I'm like, okay, this is where the flag is on the play. Flag on the play, y'all. Flag on the play. I'm like, bye, Glenn. Bye, Glenn. Bye, Glenn. And actually, to answer those questions, the answer is yes and yes. I mean, if that's her executive producer and he's financing the whole thing, I can see why, he would want to be there, to see her looks and check out what she's wearing, check out how, her hair and makeup and everything. And, get a look at some of the pics, firsthand while she's there to make sure that they definitely got the money shot, and making some suggestions on poses, camera angles, things like that. That is really, listen, it's not uncommon for the executive producer, whether it's a male or female, to be there and to get involved in a photo shoot. It is really not uncommon. But here's Glenn, and then Letitia's like looking at him like, "Are you really doing this right now? Are you really doing this right now?" And asks if, she's like, okay, I mean, what you want me to do? You want me to get Donald to come over here and give you some reassurance or something? And Glenn is like, I don't need no damn reassurance. He said, I don't. But then, nigga, why are you in there doing the most? Why are you in there doing the most? Why are you in there acting all controlling and insecure if you don't need reassurance? You know what I'm saying? Apparently you do need reassurance. Okay. So, because my thing is, if you came to support your wife, then support her. You know what I'm saying? Be cheerful. Don't disrupt her energy when she's supposed to be happy and she's taking these pictures. Don't disrupt the energy. Cheer her on. Smile. Be cute. Be into her. But he came in to question and to disrupt the energy. So I'm like, Glenn, no. So then Donald is sitting in the background. He's not really saying anything. Because, honestly, listen, Donald don't want no smoke. Listen, he don't want none of the smoke. And you could tell, honestly, it's not even his energy. You know what I'm saying? You could look at his aura and tell he ain't no negative person. You could tell he don't be arguing and raising his voice. He's got like this he's meek mannered and his voice is real light. Unlike, he's like the antithesis of Glendale completely in every single way, right? So then finally he walks up, on Glenn talking to Leticia, questioning her, what he doing here, why, all of that stuff. And he shakes Glenn's hand. And, Glenn is like, okay, what's up? What's good? I just wanted to make sure, this is just business. And if it's just business, I need to be involved in everything. I need to be involved. I need to receive phone calls. I need to receive emails. I want to be CC'd, BCC'd. Everything needs to be ran through me. That is what this Negro, please. This is what he did. That's what he said. And I'm like, another flag on the play. Glenn, I'm trying, cousin Glendale, I'm trying so hard to have your back. I'm trying to give you something, child. I'm trying to give you something. But right now, in this moment, I can't. You doing the most, bro. You doing the most. So, because my thing is, that's not for you to announce at the photo shoot. You know what I'm saying? That should have been like a mutually decided thing that between, him and his wife, right? And then it would have been up to me. This is the way I think that it should have gone. That Glendale and Leticia should have discussed that in the privacy of their own home, in their own conversation, and then mutually figured out how they're going to handle it. And then Letitia should have been the one to communicate that to her team. That's really how that goes. If they have decided he needs to be copied on everything, everything needs to go through him, he needs to be on all the emails and all stuff, then she should have brought her team together and said, hey, hey, you guys, so Glenn's going to be, this is the part he's going to play in the situation. And so moving forward, let's just copy him on all the stuff. Send him all details on anything that we're doing, make sure he's in the loop. Okay. That's all she had to do. That's all they had to do. That's the way you handle that. Right. But what Glenn is doing, what Glendale is doing is like he's bogarting, like on some bullyish. And it's just not respectable. It's not respectable because it makes him look really insecure. And it really, honestly, it exposes the division between him and Leticia in front of the whole team. And I mean, honestly, not that that's a big secret because this child be telling all her damn business to everybody anyway. She talked too much for me. She talked too much for me. So then Glenn said, he should be CC'd on everything because if something goes wrong, his wife is going to look to him to correct it. And I'm like, I don't think that she is. I don't think that she is. Not in this case. I think that if something went wrong, Leticia would definitely look to Donald to correct the things. If they, if anything went wrong. And I think that's Glendale's whole issue with this thing because he knows that. He's like, she's my wife. I'm her husband. I don't understand what the damn problem is. Well, sir, the problem is that y'all relationship ain't solid and the whole team, and everybody in the room, the whole team knows it. Y'all ain't even on one accord. So that's why it's a problem because everybody's like, what? Y'all ain't even together. What you coming in here to talking about? You need this and we better do that. And you ain't coming in here telling us nothing. Get out of here. Like it's hard for them to respect him because she's not showing him no respect by telling all they damn business. She's wrong for that. And the other problem is, there's several problems, but another problem is that Leticia doesn't want him involved in any of her stuff. So here's the thing, Glenn. She don't want you involved in any of her business, any of her new business. And she definitely didn't agree to none of the stuff that you asking for. You just out here asking, nigga, you didn't even clear it with her. The problem is that you are crashing the shoot and inserting yourself like a bully. And again, it's just not respectable. It's just not respectable. The problem is that, when you do stuff like this, it affects the energy and the synergy of the team, right? And that can impact the success of the project. Her talk show, the photo shoot, just all of it. You fucking it up. Damn. And maybe maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he wants to mess it up. Maybe he want to sabotage her thing. Maybe, he seemed like he don't want her to be successful because, he said before he's scared that, if she doing all this stuff, Miss Independent is what he called her. And he's like, if she get all this stuff popping and get all this motion, she gonna dip on me. Oh, that's messed up. So, maybe he's trying to sabotage her whole situation, child. But Glenn, you got to stop, dog. You got to stop. You need to sit your ass down somewhere for real. I'm really trying to have your back. I'm trying to give you something. But we ain't there yet. We ain't there. Okay, so then Donald ain't really checking Glenn. And that's the thing. Donald, I wanted to hear what Donald had to say because I wanted to hear him say how he felt about that. Okay, well, I understand. Okay, bet. Yeah, we could do that. Did you talk to Leticia? Sure, let's talk to Leticia. Let's all discuss it and see, how we can help you to be a part of this or whatever. We don't know what Donald was gonna say. Because her manager first is the one that really wasn't having it. Donald ain't really say nothing. He looked like he was about to say, okay, cool, and just not even question it. But then First stepped up. First is her manager. He stepped up and he's like, nah, dog, we ain't doing none of that. He's like, what are you talking about? We ain't doing none of that. You ain't about to be on no emails. We ain't doing all of that. You're not gonna be included in nothing. You ain't getting this. You ain't getting no email. You ain't CCing. We ain't BCCing. You ain't getting no memos. You ain't getting no phone calls. You ain't getting shit. He's like, nigga, we ain't doing none of that. And that's when everything went left. It all went left. So then him and First go at each other. They about to fight. She's crying, her whole team, they all trying to, everybody is just chaos. It's just chaos. They trying to diffuse the situation. Glendale says in his sidebar, he goes, none of this, he feels like none of this was his fault. And that he's just defending himself. He said, I don't know why she's crying. And I get the feeling that, she's about to blame me for her tears. Yikes. Yikes. I'm like, is he really that oblivious and insensitive to what is going on? I'm like, sir, are you dead ass right now? Child, your energy is wrong, boy. It's inappropriate, boy, and it's embarrassing, boy. What are you? That's why she's crying. And yeah, you are the cause of the damn tears. The fuck? Like, what is wrong? Bruh. Child. So then they all, everybody they told, listen, all this ruckus and drama inside, we got to take this outside before y'all break up some shit. Let's get up out of here. So they get outside, right? And then First, who is the manager, he starts antagonizing Glendale. He's staring at him, and Glenn is like, what you looking at? Like, you staring at? They got that back and forth, and then First is like calling him sexy chocolate and laughing at him, just antagonizing him, which I felt was like inappropriate, out of line. And I'm waiting for Letitia to say something. Like, I'm just like, girl, you talk all the damn time about everything the hell else. Just say something. Tell First to play his position and stop fucking with your husband like that. Like, don't egg it on. I understand if you feel how you feel, but don't antagonize my dude, yo. For real. So Glenn is like, listen, First, I will beat the brakes off of you, bruh. You keep fucking, I will beat the brakes off of you. And then First said, nah, the thing is, you ain't never had a real stand up to you. And then things went left again. Glenn goes charging at him. Everybody's trying to stop it. It's chaos again. The same chaos that was on the inside is the same chaos that was on the outside, but even more so this time because now they got more space. You know what I'm saying? Even the security for the show had to get involved. They done broke the fourth wall. Security is trying to break it up, holding Glenn back. Nobody was holding First back. And honestly, First was acting like he didn't even think Glenn was going to put his hands on it. Do that. They must know each other. They must have some kind of past. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I keep saying this and I apologize. I just started watching this show last season, and this show is 7 seasons deep. So I'm not sure if he knows Glendale, and maybe that's why he felt so comfortable acting like an ass and not feeling really threatened when Glendale was like running up on him and stuff, because he didn't even really flinch, honestly. But then Glenn says, it's like I said, it's a bunch of chaos and they pulling Glenn back, and it's just Letitia's running around and trying to break it up. Child, it was crazy. And so Glenn says in his confessional that, he feels misunderstood. He says, he got love for his wife and he's got her best interests at heart, but it seems like every time he makes a move, he gets called out for it, and every move is the wrong move. And y'all, I'm gonna be honest. Like, please just hear me out on this. Don't attack me right now. But this is what I kind of felt bad for him. I did. I felt bad for him. Not a lot, not a lot, but I did feel. I'm gonna be honest. I felt a little bad for him. The reason why I felt bad for him is that I think it's starting to dawn on him that he knows he really fucked up with her, and he's done a lot of cheating and taking her for granted and carrying on, and that's why they are where they are right now in their relationship, right? And I think he can literally see that he's losing his wife. And I think he's super frustrated because she's growing as an individual. She got all this motion going on. She got money coming in. So she's not dependent on him for anything so much. Not his opinions, not his money, not his direction, which I mean, come on, that is now listen to what I said. Not his opinion, not his finances, not his direction or leadership. That is the purpose of your husband, right? Amongst other things. But your husband is there to provide, to protect you, to lead you, to guide you, to what I'm saying, to teach you. Do you know what I'm saying? And all the things that she was reliant on him for before, she's not even reliant on him. Even if it was this is what I think is crazy. And I said this in my last, well, in the recap that I did where I just focused on them. Um she doesn't she it's like she's looking to Donald for all of those things, because she was saying in that episode, she was like, and Donald, that's the EP dude, her executive producer dude, that Glendale hates at this moment. She was saying like, yeah, and Donald, he gives me advice. He and the me, she kept putting me like, she was like, he directs me, he guides me, he gives me advice. He's showing me what to do. He's paying for my stuff. He's giving me the finances to do this talk show and everything. And I thought it was weird that she didn't think that her husband would have an issue with that. It's like she's going to this dude for everything. I understand if you have an executive producer and he's financing your shit, but he's becoming her everything, and all the things that you're supposed to look to your husband for, she's looking to this dude for it. And I'm not saying she's trying to get with him, but it's dangerous that she's looking for these things, and getting these things from another man. That's not good. It's a bad place to be in a marriage. So I said, I went into that. You guys go back on my page. On my channel, you will see that particular recap. Listen to that, because I kind of went in just on those two. But yeah, back to Glenn and why I feel bad for him. I think, like I was saying, I think he's like really frustrated. Like I was saying, she's growing as a person, and she has the means, to actually leave his ass, and she don't have to be stuck at home, having to tolerate whatever treatment he wanted to give her, cheating, treating her like she wasn't nothing, and whatever, all the other things that he was doing. She doesn't have to be subject to that anymore if she doesn't want to. And I think he's realizing, or he has realized, that he's lost the control over her. He's lost control over her, and she's kind of slipping away. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad to watch this, like, because he's crashing out. You know, and he's crashing out because he knows it's his fault. And there's really nothing he can do about it no more. Like before, he could cheat and he could, take her for granted and do all those things. And because she didn't have no motion, no money, she would have to still take it and sit there and just, wait for him to come around and for moving around. And she don't have to do that no more. And he can't, he's having trouble like dealing with that, right? Mm. And again, this is all his fault. I know that don't attack me for feeling bad for him, because he brought this on himself. The state of his marriage is, I'm not saying she's 100% innocent, but I think a lot of their issues were, based on his treatment of her. You know what I'm saying? The moves that he was making out in them streets, child. So this is all his fault. He brought it on himself. But I just in this moment watched him crash out because now he's in a place where he's ready to be with her, and he wants to make the marriage work. But now she's in a place where she's like, well, I got other things to focus on. I don't know if I want this marriage to work. So it's a messed up place, and it's hard to watch it and see him crashing out. That's why I feel bad for him, y'all. I'm not saying that I just I feel bad for him. He probably deserves all of this, but I still feel bad. I just felt a little bad for him. Not like a whole bunch, but I did feel a little bad. You know what I'm saying? So, um, so then Letitia's like, this can never happen again. And, Glenn can't come up here disrespecting my brand. And, my team needs boundaries, and we gonna set it all. We gonna get that together moving forward. And I'm like, girl, too late. In the words of Giselle, too late. Too late. You know what I'm saying? Because these steps should have been taken already, girl. Like, you had a photo shooting, and he just come walking. Y'all should have been had that conversation. You had the conversation, but it was just light. Nobody came to the conclusion of what was going to be done or nothing. It was just light. So therefore, to me, you didn't have the conversation. And as for the blow up, y'all, I think Glenn was right, but he was also wrong. You know what I'm saying? He was wrong, but he was also right. Now, he was wrong because this is why I think he was wrong for his crashing out and doing all that shit that happened up there. He came with foul bullying energy. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come in there on some humble, hey. At first he did. He was smiling, but the first thing he said to Letitia, this why you ain't want me here? What he doing here? What is he working the camera? Is he telling you how to pose? So he already came in with some fucked up, foul, bullying ass energy, right? So I think he was wrong for that. I think another reason why he was wrong is because him and Letitia, they were not a united front on none of the issues of all of this stuff that he's asking for. He's just walking in there like Dolo, acting like he's her manager and he's her executive producer. And he has another reason why he's wrong. He's none of those things. He doesn't have any financial stake in any of this stuff. So to me, he's really overstepping his boundaries, not as and don't get me wrong, y'all. I'm not speaking on his marriage at this point. I'm just talking about his actions in terms of her business. You know what I'm saying? So, because if he was her manager, that's different. You know what I'm saying? He could ask for these things. He could walk in and command some sort of respect and stuff. But she has a manager, and she's the one that says she didn't want him involved in her business. You know what I'm saying? So he's inserting himself where he's really not wanted or needed. And this is another reason why I feel that he's wrong. And then, on the flip side, I think he was right to some degree. Y'all feel me on this. Let me cook. The reason why I say that is because, honestly, First should never have come at him like that. You know what I'm saying? First was out of line for stepping up. Glenn wasn't even talking to him. He was talking to Donald, right? And he's telling Donald what he wants. And maybe First stepped up because he knew Donald wasn't going to say nothing. But nevertheless, he was still out of line for that. He should have let Donald handle it, or he should have at least waited to see, what how Donald felt about it. And then he should, if he wanted to insert himself, he should have said, okay, I understand what you're asking for, but let's all sit down and discuss this. Let's see, what Letitia says about it. And let's see, if we can make that happen. At least approach it with positivity, But First stepped up. Oh, nah, son, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing all of that. You ain't getting no, he stepped up with that energy to her husband. So to me, he was out of line because that was her husband. If he was just some dude, a friend or whatever, okay. Put him in his place. He's not a manager. He ain't got no stake in this, but he is Letitia's husband. So he overstepped his boundaries. And, honestly, I think Letitia should have, I mean, that was for Letitia to decide. And that conversation should have taken place, and been solidified once Letitia decided, what she was going to do about all of her business, you know? And I know she brought it up to him last week and everything, but it wasn't a full discussion. It was not a full discussion. But first really had no business telling Letitia's husband what he could do and what he could not be a part of without clearing it with Letitia. And again, I think he felt like he could do that because Letitia's up there talking, telling a business and just disrespected the secrecy of what's going on in her household. And you know how that is. If you don't respect this is why you don't do that. Because if you coming across like you don't respect your dude, nobody else is gonna respect him. So maybe that's why I first felt like it was okay to step to him like that, but it was not okay. So it was not okay. It was not okay. First was definitely out of line for stepping to him like that. So that's why I understand why Glendale felt disrespected. I understand why his disrespect. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't like to see people fighting. I think, Glendale needs he needs what do you call it? He needs to learn to control his emotions. Because when he gets upset, he just first thing he want to do is he just want to get at it. You know what I'm saying? He needs to learn how to better control his anger, I guess you can say. Um, but I understand why he felt disrespected, and because he doesn't know how to control himself, I understand how that led to a crash out. I completely get it. So that's why I say he's wrong, but he's kind of right. You know what I'm saying? Two things can be true at the same time. And Letitia, you're not free of blame, baby. You are not free of blame, honey. She needs to take the reins on this situation and have the necessary discussion so that there's no confusion, with Glenn and where he stands and what the boundaries are. And she said all of this. She started talking, oh yeah, I'm gonna have boundaries. I'm gonna do, but yeah, but she's doing it now. And again, good for you for doing it now. But again, I just feel like you was late on that, girl. You was late on that. So okay, so that's my take on that. So moving on real quick, let me just get to the rest of the rest of the stuff that had happened. So Selena meets up with Marie at her new office space, at Marie's new office space, and they start discussing. Here's another thing, cousin Selena, child. Oh my God. They start discussing, her upcoming wedding that she's planning, her marriage to Mike and everything. And Marie asked her, is Mike still, is he still going to have his place? And, what's his plans for his place? And Marie's asking because, she said based on her experience, and we all seen it, Selena needs to make sure that, Mike doesn't have his own place once they get married, because it could, serve as like a bachelor pad or leave an open door for, indiscretions. And, Marie knows this firsthand because this is what her husband Cedric was doing to her. He had his own place when they were together. So, he was dipping over there and having entertaining company over there, women and all that stuff. Meanwhile, he's telling her he wants to get back with her. So it was, so she was kind of saying, be careful with that whole, y'all live together, but he got his own crib. And, because their situation is Mike has his crib, Selena has her crib, but Selena's like, but he's always at my house. So she's okay with him having the place. Come here, girl. Get over here, girl, because you bugging. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But she said, actually her plans for the place are her and Mike are gonna rent both of their houses out. So I'm guessing they're gonna move into like a mutual home together, which is good. And she says, even though, she feels, Marie is projecting is the word that she used. She said Marie is projecting because that's what Cedric did to her. But I'm not worried about that situation. That ain't me. I'm not worried about Mike. I'm just focused on this wedding. Child. Um, Selena, cousin. I feel you, but I'm gonna tell you, you better take heed, honey. You better take heed, because just like I said in my previous recap, I got my eye on Mike. I do not trust that dude. I do not trust that dude. For some reason, I just don't like the way he moves. And he's a truck driver, and he already gives the vibes that it, I don't I just don't like how he moved. He comes in at 3, 4 in the morning, and they're married. He's always out of the club. He's on the road, and child ain't no, 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 no. Selena, cousin Selena, you better take heed, honey. You better take heed. So then, anyway, and so then, last but not least, Latrice and Letitia have their sit down, right? And then Latrice said, she's ready for the BS, and she's like, at the same time, she's ready to hear Letitia out, but she definitely wants to get some clarity and truth on why Letitia's done the things that she's done. And then Letitia says in her sidebar, she just feels like it's been too much miscommunication, and she questions whether or not they can even get that sisterhood back together and repaired in the first damn place. But she's still willing, of course. They both are willing to sit down. So they sit down. They chopping it up. And Letitia brings up the ambush of her marriage, which honestly, Latrice still to this day has not taken accountability for or even admitted to. I mean, don't y'all think that's weird? I mean, am I tripping? Ain't no way that she. Oh, she okay. Now she did apologize, but the thing is, she did not apologize for that. That was not her way of saying, "Okay, my bad. I did know." You know what I'm saying? She did bring it up that I did know she was going to ask the question, but I didn't think it was going to go that far. She didn't say nothing like that. She apologized for allowing the question to be asked but no, she did apologize, but she did not apologize for allowing what happened to happen or knowing about it. So she still didn't admit nothing about this. She apologized for how it affected Letitia's marriage. But I'm like, but girl, what did you think was gonna happen? And that's where, to me, that's where you still wrong, Latrice. You knew, good and well that you knew that shit was gonna happen. You knew your friend was gonna. You knew the girl was gonna ask the question because it's your house, it's your party. Y'all putting the stuff together. I know she ran through the questions that were gonna be asked. Ain't no way that girl just wrote that type of question and you didn't know nothing about it. I know you knew about it. I know Latrice knew about it, and I know that she knew her friend was gonna jump in and be like, "He was in my DMs, child. He was in my DMs." She knew, but she still is not admitting to none of that, and that's where it's some BS. And then, so they're figuring out, how to move forward. And Latrice suggests, they each mention one thing that they want, that they're beefing about, that they want to just put behind them once and for all, to never bring it up again. We're not going to discuss it. Just going to throw it away. For Letitia, it's like she's asking Latrice to stop saying that she called her ex-employee. And I'm like, girl, but you did. What the, like, y'all, they both sitting there in damn denial, both of them. They just both in denial about the shit that they did. Because Letitia, good and damn well you called that boy. Good and well you called him. And then for Latrice, she's like, okay, I want you. She wants Letitia to stop bringing up the situation with Amanda. The ambush that she really is responsible for. So they both agreed they're never going to discuss it again. But so that's why I said this makeup, this reconciliation, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's full of shit. And then they go back to kikiing and being besties. I'm like, phony. Get out of here. Both of y'all get out of here. Get out of here. So we'll see. I mean, child, nobody took accountability. Nobody admitted to nothing, but we just gonna put it behind us and just move forward. Okay, we'll see how that goes, child. We'll see how that goes. So that's it. That's all for this episode. Y'all jump down in the comments and let's talk about a couple of things. Let me know what you think. Was Glendale wrong for crashing out on first? Was he right or was he wrong? Or was he both? How do you feel about him wanting to be emailed and CC'd and BCC'd and get all the memos and all up in the business? Child. How do you what you think about that? And do you think Latrice and Letitia's makeup was genuine? And should cousin Selena be concerned about Mike? Child. Mm, 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 mm. So yeah, let's get down in the comments and talk about it, y'all. So again, cousins, it's your cousin Reebell, aka The Voice. Go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all so much for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and send this to whoever you watch the show with. Go ahead and forward it to them and share it with them. Share the video with them and y'all discuss it some more. Let's discuss it down in the comments. I really appreciate all the support. If there's another show that y'all want me to do, let me know down in the comments that y'all want me to do recaps for. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. So again, y'all have a wonderful night. Thank y'all so much for listening. And let's do this again, y'all. Peace.